Howdy folks, and welcome to another episode of Mingles with Jingles. This episode might sound slightly weird because I'm actually using RTX voice to record the audio. And I've never used it before. It's another new thing I'm tinkering around with on the new PC. Alright, and I've just played back what I recorded and it sounded more or less perfect. So, hey, let's hope it eliminates background noise the way it's supposed to. RTX voice is it's a sound technology from NVIDIA. That's supposed to completely eliminate background noise, and I've seen it in action once. I was on a video call on Discord with Mr. Conway from Wargaming EU a couple of weeks ago, and his wife was running a vacuum cleaner around in the room, like 4 feet behind him, and you couldn't hear the vacuum cleaner, but his voice was crystal clear. And this is going to be a big game changer for me if it works as advertised, because there's often a lot of background noise that means whatever I've just recorded for a video, I often have to re-record and re-re-record and sometimes re-re-re-record because the noise in the background has ruined whatever it was I just said. And it's not just the pets that don't really care that you're trying to get some voice lines down, but when Rita is live streaming, she only has one volume level and that's way too loud. As many of you have noticed over the course of the last couple of weeks, I've seen the comments in the videos. What's that noise in the background? Is that Rita moaning? No, that's Rita shouting at her Twitch audience. So if I can get this working, fingers crossed, it won't matter what kind of noise is in the background. I won't have to re-record voice lines over and over and over. There are kids outside my window having a who can shout fuck the loudest competition. Seriously, that actually happened once. The pets don't care that I'm trying to do some voice recording, and Rita's busy live streaming and doesn't have a clue how loud she actually is. So if this does all work according to plan, this is potentially going to reduce the length of time it takes me to actually produce a video by 50% or possibly more. It's not perfect technology, but it does seem to be working so far 80% of the time. It's not a finalized piece of software either. It's still in beta. But the voice lines that I'm recording so far seem to be either perfect or just a complete mess, like screeching and hissing and popping and crackling, and completely unusable. But that doesn't happen very often. I don't know what's causing it. But if it even works the way it's supposed to 80% of the time, I'll take it because it's going to be a vast improvement. Another thing that I should probably warn you about before we get started is that I don't actually have an awful lot of time in which to do this episode of Mingles with Jingles, so hooray for RTX voice, saving me time. And the reason for that is because I've spent pretty much this entire weekend stripping out the kitchen. Emptying the fridge and the freezer, defrosting the freezer, moving all of the white appliances, the fridge, the freezer, the washing machine, the tumble dryer, everything out of the kitchen, emptying the shelves and the cupboards, boxing everything up and putting it into storage because, well, as I'm recording this tomorrow, but as you're watching this today, Monday, the builders are in to rebuild the kitchen and it's going to take 2 weeks. Well, they've estimated 2 weeks. It'll probably be quicker than that. But potentially anything up to 2 weeks of not having a kitchen, which means I can't cook anything, or I can't cook anything that's going to require an oven or a grill. And even if I could, I wouldn't be able to wash up afterwards. So we've got one freezer. There's sort of an alcove under the stairs, and there's a freezer in there, and that freezer is full of microwavable meals, the kind of microwavable meals that you can eat straight out of the packet that they come in. So no need to use plates because the only facility I'd have to wash the plates afterwards would be in the sink in the bathroom, and it's not exactly built for it. And it's going to be that and lots of takeaways because we have no kitchen for the next 2 weeks. This, of course, also means we've got no washing machine for the next 2 weeks. So I'm going to have to find the services of a laundrette and try to wear as little as possible. Oh man. So as you can probably guess, things have been getting quite emotional in the prep of trying to ensure that everything that needed to be cooked in an oven got eaten before today. Trying to avoid wasting food, ensuring that everything that was in the freezer either got used or was something that could be cooked in a microwave. And then, of course, the whole stripping the kitchen out and boxing everything up, and so on and so on. So the only thing that we have to cook in is a microwave, and I made sure I got the coffee machine upstairs because I'm not going without coffee for 2 weeks. That's one sacrifice too many. Also, of course, I'm really keen to get RTX voice working in order to cut out any unwanted background noise from the microphone because I'm going to have the builders in for the next 2 weeks and they're probably not going to build a kitchen quietly. So if this doesn't work and the background noise still gets picked up by the microphone, well, it'll get picked up by the microphone anyway, but the software should filter it out. But if it doesn't work, I'm not going to be able to get any work done during the day. And I'm going to have to work in the evenings. So it's going to play merry hell with my schedule. So that's pretty much the situation. That's what we've been building up to for the last week, and that's where things are going to be for the next 2 weeks. But it's going to be worth it because our kitchen was absolutely terrible. It was just horrible. There were no work surfaces, there were no food prep areas. It was a nasty kitchen. And the new kitchen's going to be awesome. We're just going to have to suffer for 2 weeks. Eating microwave food and takeaways and doing all of our laundry at a laundrette. I realised, any of you who are students, I've just described your regular existence. But I'm getting far too old to put up with that sort of thing as normal. So, yeah. 2 weeks. Hopefully, it won't take quite that long, but it is going to be worth it. So, anyway, what else is new? Well, the RTX 3080 graphics card launch wasn't everything that it was supposed to be. Not that there's anything wrong with the card. It's every bit as good. Well, maybe not quite as good as Nvidia claimed that it was going to be, but it's still a bloody good card at a very, very good price point. Not that many of us have much in the way of personal experience of that. Now, I didn't try to buy one on launch day. I didn't try to buy one the day after launch day. I'm waiting for the partner cards to come out, and I'm waiting to see the reviews of those. Because it turns out I'm actually going to need a better power supply. Because the 3080 cards draw 320 watts of power. So if you're running a system with a 650 watt power supply, it's probably not going to be enough. You'll probably need a 750 or an 800 watt power supply. I will need a new power supply if I'm going to put a 3080 graphics card into my new PC. I am kicking myself that I ordered one with a 650 watt power supply, but hey, it is what it is. So if I'm going to upgrade to an RTX 3080, it will be an RTX 3080 and a new PSU. But a lot of people tried to upgrade to a new RTX 3080 this week, or last week, and just weren't able to. And not through lack of trying. Nobody but Nvidia knows exactly how many of these RTX 30 cards were in stock at the retailers on launch day. But if you were to say tens, possibly hundreds of thousands, you probably wouldn't be too far off the mark because Nvidia and their partners, Asus, Gigabyte, MSI, they've been making these cards since August. So the stock was there at the retailers on launch day. It's just hardly anybody was able to get their hands on one because they were gone within 15 minutes of their going on sale. Some people had gone as far as going to the retailer the day before, the night before, building themselves a new PC system and saving the quote with everything on there other than the GPU so that they could log in as soon as the 3080 cards went on sale and just bring up their quote, add a 3080 and instantly go to checkout. But even they were running into problems because of all the bots and the scalpers. There were so many bots snapping up these cards that the retailers' websites were going down. People were getting errors hitting the checkout button and having to go through the whole process over and over and over. And then within minutes of the launch, all of these graphics cards were suddenly appearing on sale on eBay for double the price. Now, I don't think anybody was particularly surprised that people were going to be scalping RTX 3080 graphics cards and selling them on eBay. I mean, that sort of thing always happens. But the sheer scale of the bots from these scalpers that were literally snapping up within minutes of their going on sale every available 3080 RTX graphics card in the world was unprecedented. I've never seen anything like this before. It was absolutely shocking. I'm just grateful I wasn't trying to buy one. I can't imagine what it must have been like for anybody who was. Now, some of you might have seen screenshots, which have not been doctored by me, of these GPUs going on eBay for thousands and thousands of dollars. One of the screenshots I saw, $48,000 for a $700 GPU. The thing is, how can I put this? That's actually a good thing. Because it was brought to my attention by one of my loyal salt miners that instead of just getting mad about the scalpers sending out their bots to snap up all of these cards, at least one person decided they were going to get even, and they wrote their own bot. So what you're seeing here was screenshotted from the PC Master Race subreddit. It's called "I wrote a bot to inflate scalper prices with no intention to purchase. Like you all, I waited up all night for the launch, refreshing the page vigorously, trying to get a 3080 for myself. Notify to sold out instantly. I saw all the bots on eBay selling them for $1,200 to $1,400 and was so salty that I wrote a quick bot to target eBay auctions. The bot makes an account and puts in ridiculous bids that no one will pay. If it's an auction, the scalper ain't profiting now. Those 60 to 20,000 bids on eBay, and like I said, I've seen a $48,000 bid, that's his bot making sure they don't sell their scalped product, because when the auction is over, no payment will be fulfilled. Hopefully for us all, they'll be back in stock soon. Good luck, everybody." Somebody give this man a medal. And everyone else like him, because I'm sure he's not the only one. Now, amusing though that is, and it is, it's obviously not a lot of consolation to anybody who was trying to get their hands on a shiny new GPU last week. However, while I obviously have no direct connections to either Nvidia themselves or MSI, Gigabyte, Asus, any of the partners who are actually manufacturing these cards, they are still manufacturing these cards. I mean, demand is unprecedented, so they're going to be falling over themselves to try to keep up with demand. And while I don't actually have any idea, personally, when we can expect to see them back in stock, I have been following other YouTube channels like Gamers Nexus, who do have contacts within the industry, and you can expect to see fresh supplies of 3080 RTX cards on sale at the retailers within days, if not already. But the thing that we really should be asking ourselves here is, well, how many of us actually need a 3080 RTX? I mean, I'm sure all of us would like to have one. I mean, I'd like to have one, and I probably will get one at some point, but I'm in absolutely no rush, because I really, if I'm being completely honest, I don't need one. I mean, at the moment, with my new system, with a 2080 Super in there, I'm running all of my games in 4K resolution on ultra graphics settings, and I'm easily achieving at least 30 frames per second. And the only exception to that is Microsoft Flight Sim 2020, which is such a massive system hog that running that in 4K resolution with ultra settings, it's not unusual to see things slow down to about 15 frames per second, depending on what you're flying over. Part of that, of course, is because MSFS 2020 only uses the first 4 cores of your CPU, so not the full 12 that I have on my CPU. because I don't believe it actually supports DirectX 12 yet, but that will change in a software patch at some point in the future. And performance will very probably increase. See, the thing about the 2080 series of graphics cards, my 2080 Super, it's not really that much more powerful than a 1080 Ti. The 1080 Ti was also capable of running games in 4K resolution at very impressive graphics settings with a thoroughly respectable frame rate. So, with the exception of Microsoft Flight Sim 2020, I don't actually need a 3080 graphics card for anything. And if I only need it for Microsoft Flight Sim 2020, then I don't really need the card at all. It'd be nice to be able to fly around Manhattan at 4K resolution with ultra settings and a steady 30 frames per second frame rate, but I can live without it. I think the only people who are really going to be affected by this unprecedented amount of scalping of the new 3080 cards are those people who are holding off on an old system, maybe with a 900 series or even earlier graphics card in it, and they were waiting for the 3080 to come out before ordering an entirely new system. If you are in that situation, you definitely have my sympathies. But anybody else with a 1080 or a 2080 card in their system, you don't need a 3080. I mean, it would have been nice if you were planning on getting one, if you were able to get one on launch. And to a degree, I thoroughly sympathise if you're upset. But it's not something that you need, it's something that you want. And there's a difference there. So for God's sake, don't go onto eBay and pay the inflated prices that the scalpers are asking for, because you're just going to incentivize them to do it when the next bunch of cards arrive at the retailers. So just, think about what you're doing here. Do you really need one of these cards, or do you just want one? I mean, I would like to have one, but new video camera, new PC, new kitchen. Where did all the money go? Yeah, I think I can wait. The system that I have runs pretty much everything that I need it to do, and runs it extremely well, with one exception, which it runs well enough. And buying a new GPU is not going to improve the render time of my 4K videos either, because that's entirely dependent on CPU and RAM, and I don't need to upgrade either of those for at least the next couple of years. So I can live without a 3080, and I'm sure a lot of you can too. Nevertheless, if you are determined to get your hands on one of these new GPUs as soon as you possibly can, I wish you the best of luck, because I think you're going to need it. Anyway, that's about it for today. Like I said, this one is going to be a little shorter than average. Hopefully you'll understand why. But there is one thing that I'm determined to mention in this week's episode of Mingles with Jingles, something that I meant to mention last week and forgot, and meant to mention the week before and forgot. A good couple of weeks ago now, a gentleman by the name of John Goering sent me an email bringing to my attention the fact that he's just written a software smartphone app that might prove to be of interest to some of you, and if it is, potentially could save you an awful lot of money. Who's heard of Track.IR? It's primarily used by flight simmers, but it's a hardware and software setup. The hardware consists of an infrared camera that sits on top of your monitor just like a webcam, and a clip that either goes over the brim of a baseball cap or attaches to the side of your gaming headset that has some reflective surfaces on it that are tracked in real time by the infrared camera. So it basically tracks the motion of your head and translates that into whatever game you happen to be running. There are not a huge amount of games that support it. It's mostly flight sims like Microsoft Flight Sim 2020, but other games like Elite, Euro Truck Simulator, Arma 3 also support it. And it makes for a much, much more immersive gameplay experience. The problem, of course, is that the Track.IR setup is not cheap. I mean, it's just an infrared camera, a clip, and some software. But it's going to cost you around about £150, maybe $200. So it's a fairly substantial purchase. However, John Goering has just written a smartphone app called Smoothtrack, and it works on any smartphone that supports face tracking. So all of the Apple iPhones, or at least all the ones that you can still buy, and certain models of Android phone. And the software is available on the App Store for $5 and on the Google Play Store for $5. 15 times less than the price of a Track IR setup, and it does exactly the same thing. So, John, thank you very much. I am very sorry that it took me this long to actually remember to mention it. Anybody else who might be able to get some use out of that and didn't fancy paying the exorbitant price of a Track IR setup, you're welcome. Get yourself over to the Google Play Store or the App Store and hope that your phone actually supports it. Because I'd rather pay $5 than $150 to $200. And that's about it for this week's episode of Mingles with Jingles. I still have work to do in the kitchen before the builders arrive tomorrow. I am really not looking forward to that, or my microwave dinner. But that's going to be my life for the next 2 weeks. And that sound you can hear in the background is the smallest violin in the world, played for me by all of the students, for whom that is just life. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Shorter than average. I say shorter than average. It's still more than 20 minutes. But that is definitely it for today. Hopefully normal service will be resumed tomorrow. If I can't work around the builders, I'm sure I'll come up with something. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you've all had a great weekend. I hope if you really need a 3080 graphics card, you're going to be able to get your hands on one soon. And as always, take care, stay safe, and I'll catch you next time.